Good morning.
Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome back to another Self-Isolating Bird Club broadcast. That's always a mouthful. And I got it first time.
Hey, I missed last week's.
You did?
I watched it.
Oh dear.
Do you want points out of 10?
No.
I
really
thought it was
don't.
excellent. I did. I really enjoyed it. Of course, I've never rewatched any of those that we've recorded. It's bad enough looking at myself in the mirror to shave each morning, and I have shaved this morning as well, just for you. So I never rewatched them. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic, and I thought the whole premise of the STEM thing was just excellent. The response was good as well. People were loving it. You were on fire last week.
I was on fire. I've never been told. You've never given me such a high praise.
No, you were on fire. I've not been on fire this week. I've been in excruciating pain. I've had a tooth out. I've got to start, playing the violin here because I have an excellent dentist, and they did forewarn me of the potential of this type of pain. But it's endured for the last 7 days, and it's really got to the point now. Yeah, I'm just thinking I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this. Anyway, one way to get rid of toothache is distraction, of course, and we're going to be distracted for the next hour. We've got loads of stuff coming up. Those black storks, pretty good.
Look at them all in that nest. I thought they were doing yoga at some point, the way one lifted its leg with its wings up.
They're almost ready to go, aren't they?
They are. Of course, they haven't got that red bill, that signature plumage that the adults have. But they are, they're looking pretty good. And they're kind of closely related, of course, to white storks. But they're much more shy than their white counterparts. They like to keep themselves to themselves. They're a bit more wary of humans.
Not as sociable either.
Not as sociable, no. So breeding pairs will typically nest in deciduous or coniferous woodland, away from people, whereas white storks, we know, are drawn to man-made structures to nest on. So they're a great species to have a bit of an insight on a nest.
And there's a bit of sort of niche separation because physically, in terms of their shape, not their colouring, they're pretty much the same size, the same build, same weight. And as a consequence of that, given that they're living in some places in the same place at the same time, you would think that there's potential for competition, which there always is. So they have to separate one another themselves using something called niche separation. So when they're using their resources, they do everything they can to minimise the overlap. So where they feed, what they feed on, when they're feeding, all of those sorts of things. But these are in Poland.
Yes,
based, aren't they?
Yeah, they are in Poland, and you can kind of catch up on the stream and watch on their website, which is www.co.org.pl. Co spelled K-O-O. So that's a great one to keep your eyes on, because those young storks, I think, they're going to go soon. It typically takes them about 60 to 71 days before they fledge the nest from hatching, and I mean they're pretty well developed, aren't they?
But they're looking pretty sleepy, because if you also look at their crops, that sort of pre-stomach that they've got at the top of their abdomen there, you can see that they're quite swollen. So I think that all of these storks are very well fed, and they're having a little dozy morning, to be quite honest with you, over there in Poland at the top of their tree. And the nest, as you can see, they've completely flattened the nest. It is not a cup any longer, it's just a platform. But extraordinary. And just like white storks, of course, when they get out of that nest, they're going to be migrating down to Africa, where they strut about on the savannah.
Oh, do you know what? I like the word strut to describe storks.
Yeah.
They're a strutting species. They look great on a catwalk, wouldn't they? They would do.
As long as there's no cats on the wall.
Yeah, as long as there's no cats.
Yeah, no, fantastic stuff. What else we've got coming up today? We've got Luke Massey. We've got the results of the Isolation Wildlife Photographer Awards. We've got Amir Khan joining us, which is going to be fantastic, talking about the effects of lockdown, how he engaged with nature, and a bit about his garden. I think he's got a fantastic garden.
I've got a brilliant garden.
Yeah, I've got garden envy. I've had a sneak preview. Got garden envy. He's clearly got greener fingers, more chlorophyll in his fingers than we've got around here. No doubt about that.
Combined, I think.
Yep. And so plenty coming up today. What are we going to kick off with? The quiz?
Well, we can start with the quiz. Yeah. Let's have a little listen. Of course, every week we give you a quiz.
Yeah.
Tricky one, perhaps.
It's very characteristic.
Very characteristic. Shall I give a clue?
Oh no, not one of your clues.
Oh yes.
Go on.
Oh, it wouldn't be.
You're going to say it's nocturnal?
No.
Okay. That sound is normally made at night.
Are you giving a pre-clue?
It was a pre-clue.
A pre-clue to my...
I mean, I've heard it in the daytime, but the time to hear it really is at night.
Yes.
You go out at night and you can hear that sound.
So pairs take turns calling to one another, so the male and then the female, and the male call is often slower and slightly quieter than that of the females.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
I didn't know that.
Go teaching you something new. It's
We'll give you
always a good
another
day.
clue perhaps a little later on, because that was very cryptic indeed.
But then you gave the nighttime one, so you know.
Yeah, it's a UK species. Quite a shy bird, I would say.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen one. I found one that had been run over by the White Swan pub on the edge of the River Itchen in 1999, and I was elated to be able to pick up and examine this bird. It was the first one that I saw. Sadly dead. I'd have preferred it to be alive, but nevertheless, got a good look at it. And needless to say, parts of its body have been retained and are in a box up there.
I was just about to ask you whether you had
feet. I've got its feet.
Why its fur? Why not have, like, you know, a feather or...
I did have its wings. If I'm very honest with you, I did have its wings, but I had a bit of a catastrophe a few years later when some carpet beetles that I was using to clean all of my skeletal material sort of went wild and in the house, and they destroyed quite a lot of my wing collection.
Right.
I didn't get the corn crate though. Still got the old corn crate wings. Still got those up there, but I'm afraid that they got this other species. Okay.
Anyway, shall we move on from your collections and your wardrobes into our very special live guest for today? Now, Dr Amir Khan is a full-time GP. He is, well, you might have seen him on GPs Behind Closed Doors. I know I did. I love that show. Absolutely love it. But if you follow him on social media, you'll also know that he is, well, really wildlife, well, like us, he's a passion for wildlife, and his garden is just a utopia for that wildlife, I think. And he's much, as you said, much more green fingered than we are. And he's here to tell us a little bit about lockdown and a little bit about his garden. So hello, Amir.
Good morning, Amir.
Hi, morning. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. I've got the morning off work, which is great. I'm going to clinic later on, but it's nice to be here talking to you this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
My pleasure.
We must have, from a professional perspective, as well as a personal one, we've all had troubling times over the last few months, obviously coming to get to grips with coronavirus. But at the front line as a GP, that must have been very challenging.
It was certainly very challenging, particularly at the start of the pandemic, where we were hit hard. You know, I work in Bradford, which is I work in an inner city practice. We have a very dense population, and the virus really hit that area hard. And particularly our nursing homes. We've heard about the disaster that happened in nursing homes, and what was really hard for me, I think, as a GP, you know, the nursing homes are often the patients there are often our sickest patients and the ones that we know the best because we see them the most often. And sadly, you know, a cohort of them got the virus, and that was really tough to see how sick they got, having to go and see them after they'd sadly passed away and verify the deaths. And it was a really, really hard time. And it was before we were testing in nursing homes. And, you know, there was a lot of debate about that, which only added to a lot of kind of anxiety for families as well. And what I found really for myself, because some of these patients I'd known for 10 years, I'd been looking after them for 10 years. And they had a good quality of life prior to getting this virus. You know, there's this kind of misconception, that they're old and they've got other health problems, and so, you know, people often don't give them the same value that they do younger, healthier people. But that is so wrong. And what helped me get through it really was my garden. You know, you talked about my garden, but not just my garden. You know, going out for those walks, enjoying nature. I found when I was in the garden or watching, you know, the birds on my feeders or red kites in the air, I forgot about those moments at work just for those few minutes. And it was really, really important for me. And I know a lot of my patients, you know, the people who have been shielding, you know, at the end of July, shielding will come to an end. And there's a lot of anxiety around that for those people as well, because they've gone from being at home, completely at home, and being told there's this awful virus out there to saying, okay, well, now you can do this and you can do that. And that's going to be really hard. And I've been talking to a lot of my patients and saying, you know, just take it in small steps, going out into your garden, going out onto the front step, going out into the street. That's a fine first step. You don't have to go for an hour-long walk. And if you are going to go for a walk, avoid big crowds. Go to places where there is open green spaces and nature, because that is not only, you know, good in terms of staying away from people who potentially could be harboring the virus, but it's great for your mental health as well. So nature, gardening, all of that has been a massive savior for me and some of my patients during this time.
We've talked a lot about the mental health problems due to lockdown, but what about those problems coming out of lockdown? Because there is a lot of anxiety about going back into those parts of the world that we didn't think twice about beforehand. Just, going to the shops, using public transport, going on holiday, all of those sorts of things. Now we've got the spectre of coronavirus there. That's having an impact too, I imagine.
A huge impact. And a lot of my conversations revolve around mental health and anxiety, particularly now when people are going out. And there's a lot of questions there. And the truth is, that there's always going to be a risk of getting the virus if you are outside and in places where there are other people. And all you can do is try and mitigate those risks by social distancing, hand hygiene, so important. Now wearing masks, all of those things are really, really important. But there are things that you can do if you feel you are at high risk. There are badges that you can wear, which are yellow, that say, I'm at high risk, please keep your distance. And that might help some of your anxiety. But if you are feeling, like your mental health is deteriorating and it's affecting you on a day-to-day basis, please contact a healthcare professional or the Samaritans, and we will be able to help and give you advice as well.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff.
We speak a lot about, obviously, the connection with nature and how that improves mental health. I mean, how do we get that into more, I don't want to say mainstream medicine, but, into the conversation where we're talking to people and saying, actually what can help is spending, 90 minutes outdoors, 120 minutes can significantly improve your mental health for just a week. So how do we get that into the conversation?
No, you're absolutely right. There's loads of evidence for that 2 hours a week out in nature and improving your well-being. And I think with the lockdown and people, really appreciating nature more, that conversation is starting to happen. And we are talking about green prescriptions on the NHS. I've had conversations with NHS England about prescribing green areas, time in green areas for people with mild to moderate anxiety. But it's not just mental health that benefits from spending time in green areas. There's lower rates of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, people with early dementia symptoms who spend time outside doing outdoor activities actually have slower progression of their dementia as well. So there's massive health benefits to it. And I think the NHS is waking up to this, and there will be a move forward over the coming years with these green prescriptions.
Excellent stuff. Okay, let's talk about your self-prescription, your garden. We've had a couple of views of it before we went live this morning. You clearly spend a lot of time working there. That's part and parcel of your engagement with nature, clearly.
It is. It's really interesting because I never had a garden growing up. I lived in inner city Bradford. We lived in a back-to-back house, and we had a backyard, and that was about it. So when I got this house and it had a garden, I was just so excited. And I wasn't a gardener. I didn't have green fingers, but I just thought I'm going to give it a go. And I bought some books and I read them. And the garden, even if I say so myself, it looks gorgeous. It's really nice, and it's full of insects and birds and frogs and newts in the pond, which I dug out myself. I'm really proud of. But I guess the message is you don't have to have known anything beforehand. And loads of things I've tried have failed, but I just don't talk about them. I just show the positives. So it looks lovely. But I think every gardener, and I'm quite pleased to be able to call myself a gardener now, can say, there's loads of things that just don't work. But the things that do work grow, and those are the things that people see. So just have a go. The idea of being green-fingered, I don't think it really exists. I think it's just trial and error. And that's what makes a good garden. And I love it. This is where I spend most of my time now. It's lovely.
What are your garden highlights? What are the best things that you've had or have in your garden?
Definitely the pond, because we've had a massive influx of frogs this year, and we've got newts in there as well, and we've had dragonflies. I've got a whole host of bird feeders up on that end of the garden, and we get bullfinches, greenfinches, goldfinches. They're a bit timid at the moment because there's a couple of sparrowhawks lurking around, which I know is bad for them, but it's great for me to see. And we get red kites flying over. And loads of butterflies. So there's just loads, and every time I turn around. And this year we had a starling invasion. All the starling chicks were coming in, and they were really noisy, and they all had great personalities. And one of the things that was quite entertaining for a patient of mine, I was doing a video call from home because during the pandemic, we took it in turns to go into the clinic, and most of the time we were working at home. and I had the French doors to my study open, and a starling chick flew in while I was doing a video call to a patient. So the bird panicked and I panicked, and I was trying to chase it out, going, ah! And the patient was watching me during this whole thing, and I fell over the sofa. It was just like a big nightmare. Eventually, the starling escaped, but I think I was iller than the patient at the end of that video call. So I've closed the door since then. I don't open it anymore during those.
Unwanted visit to consultations.
Yeah. So today we're very excited. We're going to be launching the Big Butterfly Count. BigButterflyCount.org is where you have to go. You can download the app, which you can use. And we're asking people to spend 15 minutes in their garden or a green space of their choice. Actually, it doesn't have to be a garden, it could be anywhere, but just stand there for 15 minutes and using a chart which you can download. There are a group of common and familiar butterflies and a little guide so you can, if you great and a couple of day flying moths. And last year 100,000 people took part. We got great data from that. So are we going to have to twist your arm, or are you rearing to grow, Amir?
I'm there already. I've got the app. I'm raring to go. Yeah, and I've got my buddleia is in full bloom, so I'll just be standing by there and just watching the butterflies come. They love it. I've got loads of peacock butterflies on there, so it's great. I'm really looking forward to documenting them.
Yeah, we can see here actually.
There's one of your peacocks there on the buddleia.
Yeah.
Great.
It's lovely, and we get lots of meadow browns as well, which I really like seeing. So yeah, no, I'm fully on board with this. It's I'll probably do it for more than 15 minutes because I really enjoy it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, you have to do it more than once then, because to keep the data standardised, you as you know, you can.
I know. Don't worry.
Well, so yeah, I did it 3 times last year to sort of try and get an average.
I'd look out the window and you'd just be wandering around in the field, like
I did it in the field behind here. And they were absolutely covered in green vein whites and meadow browns. So they swamped. I had one peacock and one small tortoiseshell. But yeah, it's a great way of getting people to engage. And generate. The thing about butterfly conservation is they're a fantastic charity. Their publications and data analysis is absolutely brilliant, and through their work we've really managed to get our finger on the pulse of the UK's fluctuating butterfly populations.
It's great, and the magazine that they send out to members as well is really informative and really, really good. I love reading it, so it's worth subscribing just for the magazine, I would say, because it's brilliant.
It's been brilliant having you on. Leave us with one top tip then, because Megs and I have been trying to prescribe natural health remedies all the way through, since March, but let's have it from a professional. People,
I would say, don't worry about how much time. There's this talk about 2 hours a week that you have, to spend with nature to get the health benefits. Any time you spend outside, be it 5 minutes or 10 minutes, will be good for you. And it's not just your mental health; it's good for your immune system. It's good for your bone health. There's so many benefits. So don't put pressure on you saying I have to spend this much time out there. Any time you can spend is better than nothing.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Top work.
Bone health. Never would have thought that.
Vitamin D from sunlight. Vitamin D from sunlight is good for your bones, and movement, it strengthens your bones as well. And we're more active when we're outside. So there you go.
Of course, makes sense.
Excellent stuff. Amir, thank you so much for joining us. Yes. Do enjoy your Big Butterfly Count. Hope you get plenty to send in the data.
Cheers.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bone health.
Yeah.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is cool, isn't it?
That's really cool.
What a top bloke.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Absolutely top bloke. Yeah, really, really top bloke. Like Amir very much. From one top bloke to another, though.
Yes.
Luke Massey is one of our correspondents. Luke lives in Spain, in rural Spain, where he's he should be restoring a dilapidated farmhouse, but he doesn't seem to spend much time.
He gets distracted, I think.
No.
I don't blame him either,
he's a great filmmaker, an excellent photographer. You should look at his work on Instagram as well. He takes great photographs. And he's been making a series of films for us. He keeps promising bears.
I know. There's rumours of bears and the slight whisper every week, bears. But
he's given us pine martens.
It has been pretty good.
But today, of course, to keep it topical, he's been out into Asturias, where he lives in rural Spain, looking at the butterflies. Here's his film.
I'm not wanting to boast, but here in Asturias, we're pretty lucky. We've got 146 different species of butterfly. And to put things in perspective, in the UK there's 59 species of butterfly, and this time of year is the best time to spot them.
I'm stood kind of right on the edge of our land limit in one of our wildest fields. We've got this beautiful hedgerow behind us here, which is full of life, and then loads of wildflowers which attract loads of different species of butterfly. There's crickets chirping, and then we've got redback shrikes kind of around the edge of the field feeding on all those species. But here we're equally at risk as the rest of Europe with these declines in insect species. Here there's pesticide spraying. There's an orchard up behind me here that isn't ours. I've seen them spraying pesticides. Overgrazing, also that field just there is pretty overgrazed. That's not our field. And repeated cutting for hay. Here in Asturias, traditionally, hay is cut with a scythe once or maybe twice a year, but because of the way it's cut, you still have a great wildflower biodiversity, which in turn attracts all those pollinators. Hopefully people will begin to see that there's a decline and maybe go back to those more traditional methods, because that's better for the land, it's better for the people, and it's better for the wildlife.
With Asturias boasting those 146 different species of butterflies, it is a pretty good place to spot them, and at the weekend I headed up to the IWPA National Park where I found a load of butterflies puddling. Now, I haven't got a clue what half of them are, but there was a nice little white letter hair streak, turquoise blue, different skippers, just a ton of different butterflies all around one particular stream. And the reason these butterflies puddle is because they can't get certain salts and minerals from the nectar that they feed on. So they have to get it from basically the soil that's dissolved in the water. So if you're looking for a bit of a change of scenery and you want to find some butterflies and some other amazing wildlife, then Asturias is the place to go.
They love that.
Oh,
Butterflies, they love coming down to salts like that. And it's not just in tropical areas where you'll frequently see them on riversides sipping for those salts, nor in Spain. You'll get them doing it here. And there is one species, the purple emperor, which was prized by butterfly collectors when they would go out and catch them and kill them and pin them. And the trouble with purple emperors is, even if you want to watch them and not do anything unspeakable to them, typically they're flying around the tops of oak trees. They will come down to lay their eggs, of course, which they lay on sallow. But to get them down on the ground, the old butterfly collectors would go through, take enormous steps to tempt them down. So some of the things they thought they would come down to, like other butterflies, red admirals, peacocks, those sorts of things, go to rotting fruit. So they'd go into the woods where the purple emperors were, and they'd put down a load of rotting fruit.
fermenting banana. Leave a banana out in the sun. Fermented sugar.
Didn't work very well with the purple emperors, though.
No.
Didn't work very well. Then they
Wouldn't have
thought
worked.
rotting fish, lots of salts in it. So they would get tins of sardines and take them out to the woods, crack open the sardines, put them down on the path, hope that the purple emperors would come down. The final thing, because they kept spotting purple emperors on it, was excrement. You knew it was coming. Don't do that with your face, Megs. You knew it was coming.
I'm just saying that's a very smelly path, isn't it?
Yes,
It's a very smelly pathway. You've got your fermenting fruit, you've got your fish,
Yep.
and then finally, to top you off on the end of your nice little walk down your country lane, a pile of excrement.
Yeah, pile of excrement.
Great.
So they would see them coming down to horse manure and sipping at that to get what was...
Sipping?
Yes, sipping, using their proboscis.
Sipping?
So, but then they noticed that the one thing they would really go for, if they'd taken their dogs with them, was canine excrement. So, years ago, I went out into the woods and I conducted a trial with the rotting fruit, the fish, and I have to tell you, the canine poodle, of course, poodle excrement.
Yeah.
It worked.
Poodle excrement, huh?
We got shots for the BBC of purple emperors sipping on poodle excrement.
That's not a sentence you can say every day, is it?
I was I can't you imagine?
Of all the excrement
Can
there
you
is.
imagine how elated I was when that actually happened? How
The fact
proud.
that got broadcast, you must have been
It was.
so
It went out
happy.
on a programme called Inside Out, BBC Inside Out. It's very sadly been scrapped recently in BBC Cuts. Not good at all.
Anyway, I think should we move on from poodle excrement? We got there quickly, didn't we? Let's just fast forward a
You
little
don't
bit.
have to, when you're doing your big butterfly count, by the way,
Oh, you.
which we're going to tell you more about in a moment. You won't be needing any poodle excrement.
No, skew the data, unfortunately.
It would skew the data.
You can't tempt them in. You've got to see what's naturally there.
Yeah.
Naturally there. So every week we have been doing our little soapbox. It's something that is an issue that we feel needs addressing or needs to have a conversation. And this week is one which I have to say really just irritates me. It just gets on right under my skin a little bit.
Go on.
And that is artificial lawns.
Oh.
Or even the word. 2 words, artificial lawns, just makes you go, oh.
Can I just be controversial just at the outset?
Yes, go for it.
Like, let's just ban them. Let's just ban the sale of that grass that on those rolls that you see outside certain, emporia of, garden carpeting materials. I mean, what? These just...
I mean, I get people lead incredibly busy lives. We know that, lockdown, of course, has changed that and the momentum of things is slightly slowed. But, to have non-maintenance grass and lawn which you can just go out and play on and not have to worry about, I see the appeal. I really do.
You don't want to play on plastic grass.
You don't want to play on plastic grass. It's
play
horrendous for wildlife. Unable to have all these beautiful wildflowers, these natural grasses that promote biodiversity in your garden. And of course, you're creating something that's plastic and will never biodegrade. And every year there's a 220% increase in the sale of artificial lawns. And each year, an area about the size of Hyde Park, double that, so 2 Hyde Parks together, gets covered in some kind of decking, artificial lawn or concrete because of our gardens. Every year, 2 parks. That is massive.
Wait, look. Here, just over there, you can't see it, is what was a lawn when we moved here. It's now our wildflower patch. It gets cut once a year. We're busy, but we've got time to cut it once a year, leave it for a couple of weeks till the seeds fall down, ready for next year, rake it off and put it away. Yeah. That's the lowest maintenance you can possibly have.
And it's
going to be full, I'm looking at it now, it's full of umbellifers, all sorts of vetches and things like that.
Oxide daisies have just come
up. Where we're going to do the big butterfly count.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Scrap the artificial lawn.
Grass, germ-free adolescence, X-ray specs. Scrub away the SR way. I mean, what's going on? We don't need to take that sort of hygiene and cleanliness into the garden so that we nullify and neuter it.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Artificial
There's
lawns.
Nothing. It's tough, isn't it? I really struggle when I see an artificial lawn. I just really, it's one of those things that really gets under my skin.
Okay.
And of course, it's not just about, the wildflowers and the invertebrates that are going to suffer. It's also going to be things like hedgehogs. And we love our hedgehogs so much in the UK. And if you remember back quite a few episodes ago now, we had Hedgehog Hugh on to tell us a little bit about his petition.
Hugh Warwick.
Yes, Hugh Warwick. He's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And his petition is asking people to cut little holes in their fence, create hedgehog highways to enable hedgehogs to be able to move from garden to garden and separate those, to stop that fragmentation of gardens so that hedgehogs can get to one another and find resources more easily.
You're not going to find any on artificial grass.
You're not going to find any on artificial grass. No, you're not. But you can find his petition in the comments below, so you can make sure that you sign on to that one to help increase that.
It's made my toothache worse, even thinking about artificial grass. I'm not joking, it has. It's it's obviously a psychological thing. But
I think you've just been shouting.
That's what it is. I've been ranting.
You've been ranting. You went off on one.
I'm going to be
again. And of course Fabian, actually, our very, very own wonderful Fabian, he saw a hedgehog for the first time in a long time. I got a very excited call from him. I think it was yesterday. He was very excited to have seen this hedgehog, and he found this clip of it as well. So have a little look at this gorgeous little animal scuttling there in the undergrowth.
Look at that. Never seen one here, have we?
No, we haven't. Where my mum's house is about 40 minutes away from where we are now, and I saw the bottom of a hedgehog scuttle, and it's quite an urban area. It's really kind of built up. It's in Hedge End, so it's not, there's not much going on in terms of wildlife parks and greenery around there. But there was this gorgeous, gorgeous hedgehog, and you become so attached to them. This is something that Fabian and I were saying earlier. They're like your hedgehogs. You love them, and then of course when you see them beside the side of the road, or they unfortunately perish, it becomes very, very tricky. But it's a fantastic view if you have hedgehogs. It's very, very lucky. We're very envious, aren't we?
Very envious. We always would have liked to have had hedgehogs. Put hedgehog boxes out there.
Yeah, hedgehog boxes.
They've had rodents in them.
Yes. So
I'm not going to. I won't be mentioning the mice today because of the toothache.
No.
I can't have it, exacerbated anymore by thinking about.
We had a break from the mice last week. Let's do one more week.
Well, I hope you've been catching them though.
Well, yes, no, I have been. There's one in the kitchen right now in the
trap.
Yes, in the trap.
Okay. We'll go and release it later.
In the Longworth trap. Yes.
Okay.
So sign the petition, ban artificial lawns perhaps, and help hedgehogs.
Okay.
Summary of our soapbox.
We're very fortunate to have a number of correspondents who kindly spend a lot of time filming and send us their work. Luke Massey, as you've seen. We also have Andy Rouse, who's a brilliant photographer and has been locked down this year. He's moving house at the moment. He had a terrible flood earlier in the year, so he's moving back into the house where he lives now that it's been properly repaired. So this week he was unable to get out and do something new for us, but that's not a problem, because he's showing us a film that he made a little while ago about an extraordinary bird. So here is the one and only Andy Rouse.
As a kid, I used to spend my life in rivers like this, and it seems that recently I've done exactly the same, which is brilliant. I just absolutely love it. Now, this week, I want to bring you a film that I made before lockdown. Remember, there was a life before lockdown. It's a really special film on a bird called the water rail, a very shy and elusive species. And I wanted you to see it because A, it's beautiful, and B, this week, because I'm moving back into my house that was flooded in February, I haven't had time to cut together one of the many films I've made for you. So they'll be back next week. But for now, enjoy the really, really beautiful water rail. It's absolutely an amazing, amazing bird. It's Tuesday morning and I'm sitting in the middle of a small stream on a wooden pallet and a dog bed. And how many of you could say that of a Tuesday morning? In the background, you will notice some lights across the river, and it's home of the elusive water rail. My good buddy Alan McFadden has been feeding them here for 7 years, probably a few pairs in that time. They've got used to it, and the normally shy and elusive water rail, where you wouldn't dare even utter a sound, is amazingly tolerant, and it's brilliant to watch it. Now you may think, oh, what are you photographing like this in the low light for? Well, we can use a black background and get some really beautiful reflections. It's just a very, very high ISO shot, but how amazing is it to get close to the elusive water rail? And hopefully in the next couple of minutes you're going to share our amazement. I just absolutely love it. It's brilliant. And I'm lying on a dog bed on a pallet in the middle of the water. It's awesome. Okay, so the light's just coming up now, so I'm going to go and remove all the lights and the blocks and put them at the side. Put a little bit of food down around, and we just sit and wait for the rails to do whatever they do, and it's up to them if they want to come or not and come and see us. But it doesn't matter, we've had a fantastic time already, and that's the great thing about water rails. You may not have started this as a water rail fan, but I tell you what, by the end of it you will love them.
Well, I know you can't hear much, but silent mode shooting makes all the difference, even though I'm talking. They're used to people talking, but it's the rat-a-tat of the shutter that I always think they don't like. So I like to get a very low angle, and what I've done, I've put my camera right down in the water on my flex shooter head. I'm using the screen so I don't have to bend down and look in the viewfinder.
There you are. I hope that you enjoyed that. Just a word about Chris's reference to my dodgical musical taste. There is nothing bad about loving 80s disco. There is nothing bad about the mighty One Glove Shalimar, Jeffrey Daniels homage there. And also my favourite band is Aha. I've been to every single concert from the first to the last. They're still going strong and I just love them. And there's nothing wrong with them, Chris. I know you hate them, but there's nothing wrong with them at all because, as they say, the sun always shines on TV.
Superb images, absolutely superb images of Waterrail there. Absolutely not superb musical taste. Aha.
Yeah, it leaves something to be lacking.
Aha.
And I think,
Morton Harkett, one has to say, was probably one of the most attractive men of the 1980s. You won't know him, Megs, will you? You'll have to Google Morton Harkett. My goodness, he was a heartthrob.
Was he?
Yes, people swooned over Morton Harkett. They did a sort of this is all just a little bit of info for you.
Oh, yes.
They did a song called Take Me On or Take On Me or something like that. It was dreadful pop. And they did it as like a cartoon, and he went into the cartoon and came out, and there was a blonde lady with really big 80s frizzy hair, and he pulled her into the cartoon, and then he got beaten up, and it was a...
Can I just say something?
What?
For somebody that doesn't like that kind of music, you seem to know a lot about it.
It was on top of the pops. I'm not sure. I don't think it got to number one. No, it didn't get to number one, I don't think. But it was very popular, as were Aha. But Andy Rouse, he's a brilliant photographer. His musical taste is disgraceful. Yes. Manilow. Aha.
Oh, you're meant to like Manilow, apparently. That's what Andy says.
Don't even know.
You're a Manilow fan.
Don't even know Manilow is.
Well,
Who's Manilow? Manilow's Warbler. Never heard of it.
Oh dear.
Manilow's bush cricket. Never heard of it. The Manilow squid, deep sea species. Never heard of it.
Anyway, so you can keep up with Andy on his YouTube channel. So look up Andy Rouse on YouTube and you'll find some fantastic videos. And also he's doing some amazing webinars on his website too. And his website address is andyrouse.co.uk, Rouse spelled R-O-U-S-E. So make sure you join those. They are really fantastic. Yeah. Great way to learn a bit about photography, learn how he does it. Yeah, they're really great.
And you can catch up with his photos. His Wild Man Rouse is the other tag that he uses. And he does a series of films called Wild Angle View, which are photo tips. Yeah. Really, really good. Just don't listen to his musical tips.
No, hopefully he won't play your music. Don't listen to his playlist. Don't get on his Spotify account.
Goodness, no. Can
Stay
you imagine?
far away from that.
And what was it? The other one? Shalimar.
I don't know, Shalimar.
Yeah, I've got vague recollections, but I won't go there. Go on, let's move on.
Anyway, so of course, throughout the course of South Islington Bird Club, you've been sending us in your fantastic photos and videos, and we love nothing more than to share some of those with you. This is a young man. His name is Dylan Barney, and he has the most fabulous feather collection. Might even rival you, Chris.
Really?
Look how excited he is with his feathers there. He's got different types of pigeon there and his pet budgie feather.
I like that very much indeed. I also, is that a Jurassic Park t-shirt that I'm
it is Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, that's okay.
That's
we love a bit of dino action. Yeah. Of course. Looks like a top bloke, that all.
Yeah, he's 8 years old. So it's great to start him off early.
I just hope the moths don't get to his feather collection as they did mine. He needs to put them in those Ziploc bags with mothballs and then put them in boxes. If you don't Ziploc bag your feather collection, at some stage in your life, Darryl, another insect species is going to come in and munch the whole lot of it up.
It's a good top tip there for your feathers.
Yeah.
Now, of course, as photographers, we like to focus on some pretty spectacular animals. But photos don't always go to plan all of the time. So this is this was taken by the Scottish Sisters Photography on Twitter. Photos of what I assume they're trying to take photos of is the long-eared owl, but there seems to be a bit of a photo bomb going on.
It's a bullfinch, a male bullfinch. Well, is it a photo bomb? I don't know. Look, that's mobbing that long-eared owl, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the look of kind of surprise on that. That interaction going on there between those two species is something quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's cool, isn't it?
It's one of the reasons why we think owls are so well camouflaged. You can see that long-eared owl there with its vermiculate plumage in amongst the coniferous tree, blending in as best it can. Because during the daytime, if they're visible at all, they get harried, absolutely harried by small bird species, make a lot of noise and draw attention to them, so that they basically can't predate them. Tawny owls, you can often hear, if you're out in the woods and you hear lots of small birds kicking off, of course it can be a fox, it can be corvids, but very often it can also be just a tawny owl in the woods, and they found it. And they all gang up, blackbirds,
Little
finches,
tawnies,
all the
long-eared
tits,
owls.
just stand there shouting at it. It'd be really boring to be an owl.
It would give you a bit of a headache, wouldn't it?
I think
All
that's
day
what's
of that.
going on,
When you're trying to
anyway.
sleep, you've been awake all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no.
it's brave not to focus on the foreground subject, and brave is a word that I've used judiciously there.
Great. That's a great photo, though. You know, a male bullfinch is a fantastic bird.
Stunning.
Absolutely stunning. And to get that with a long-eared owl, I mean, come on.
Okay, what else we got?
Pretty good. Well, something that's been in the news this week.
My
Must have
tooth?
seen. No, not your tooth has not made headline news,
No, it's
unfortunately.
making headline news in my
Yeah.
pain receptors of my brain at the moment. Go on.
No. Well, if you saw the news, we had a special visitor to the UK.
Oh, I did see that. Very envious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not allowed to call it by its old name.
Which is
The old name, I'm going to say it once, Lammergeier,
no.
which I believe is German for sheep killer.
No.
But
no.
it's not a sheep killer. It's a vulture. It's a scavenger.
Yeah.
It's a vulture that actually breaks bones.
It's a bearded vulture. Yeah.
Bearded vulture breaks bones open, carries them up to a great height, drops them down. They smash. It comes down and eats the marrow inside. Typically a resident. Well, actually, you can find them all over the mountainous regions of Europe and right the way over into the Himalayas as well. So in Europe, they're in the Pyrenees and they're in the Alps. But currently, there's one in the Derbyshire Dales.
There is, yeah. And actually, it's a friend of ours who went and took this photo. This is a photo that's been circulating the news. You will have seen it. You know, guess who this was taken by?
Go on.
Indy Green.
Oh, the young,
Yes.
the lesser spotted woodpecker chap.
Yes,
Made that
yes. He's
brilliant film
a
for us, didn't he?
fantastic young man and fantastic young conservationist.
Yeah.
And he travelled up to go and see this bearded vulture because, you know, they don't ever really come to the UK.
No, they have been here before.
They have been here before, but it's very, 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 very rare.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Very rare. So this is a resident that's come over from, we believe, France, where there's a reintroduction programme going on, which is being very, very successful. But we believe this individual's been in the UK for about a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at it there, flying over.
And I think it's really, you know, important to say, looking at that landscape there, you've got this incredible bird, which is, you know, indicative of a healthy environment. But it's important to look at the environment in which it's in.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is relatively barren for that individual.
It's in the Derbyshire Dales, and that bird's not in the safest place when it comes to. I know vultures technically aren't a bird of prey, but it's not the safest place. I can imagine there are a few fluttering hearts there as it's flying over some of the Derbyshire Dales countryside, where not much of that ilk gets to fly over and survive.
Unfortunately not. So we have to keep looking out for this individual, you know, and make sure that, you know, hopefully it manages to survive there. But, you know, it's going to be a difficult place for it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think the other thing is that we're too tidy in our countryside when it comes to dead animals as well.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to leave dead animals out in the countryside. And as a consequence of that, when it comes to our scavengers, there's a dearth of food. So when these animals are reintroduced in Spain, you have to get special permission to have food dumps. Well, they would take dead farm animals, dead stock, and leave them specifically in these areas to feed the vultures whilst they're being reintroduced. But
it's interesting stuff.
Fantastic stuff.
Now, so right at the beginning of isolation, I got in contact with, a friend of mine got in contact with me, Matt Gould, and he came to me with an idea. And this was an idea that I got really, really excited about. I thought it was incredibly creative. So Matt and Jack Mortimer came up with this fantastic idea to have the Isolation Wildlife Photography Awards. It was an idea to get people out into their gardens or into their homes. That was the rules. You had to be constricted to those two areas, to take photos of what you could find quite literally on your doorstep. And it was an amazing process. We got some fantastic entries. I was honoured to have been a judge for that competition for the photography side of it. There was also a short film side of it too. And there was some absolutely brilliant photos. So the judging took place. I have to say, we're all still friends, which is always good after a judging process. We're all still very good friends.
Can't say that I've survived every judging process I've been fortunate enough to take part in that way.
And we have some fantastic photos to show you. So we're going to start off with the garden category. This is the photography category, and we're going to go with gardens. So let's start with the winner of that. This is a starling image that was taken by Luke O'Brien, and it was called Overlooked. I mean, it's a fantastic piece of behaviour, this adult coming in here, standing on that chick's head, feeding that other chick. I mean, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I quite like the sort of the action.
Yes.
Dramatic composition works quite well. Sticks the same colour as the starlings, no distractions in the background, big green leaves or anything like that. Plain background, focuses all the attention on that. Like the obviously the gaping bill,
Yeah, the gaping bill, but also like the arrow coming straight into it as well with the adult's bill. I really like that positioning. Yeah, so that was a fantastic winner for that category. So very well done to you, Luke. Well done for that. It was a very difficult category, that one. We had lots of entries, so that one was a really difficult one to choose. But I think we were won over by the behaviour of that image. So the runner-up, I have to say, this is a very. Every time I look at this photo, I love it more and more and more. This was taken by Daniel Haugigo. Let's have a look at this one. Now, if you look really carefully at that droplet there, you can see the reflection of the entire flower in that singular droplet. So it's the detail of this image, I think, is just exquisite.
Sensational.
Yeah.
I'm giving that a high score.
Are you?
Yeah, because I always go for the sort of arty abstract stuff, and that is
beautiful, isn't it?
It's excellent.
It's an absolutely beautiful, and it's vivid as well, really punchy.
And when you see the the reflection, as you say, of that flower focused in the lens of that water droplet, and then you recognise that flower in the background as the outer focus part of it. Yeah, it's a really clever photo.
Really great. So on to our highly commended for this category. This photo was taken by John Fromstone of a hedgehog. I have to say, I really liked this one when this came in. It's a hedgehog at night. It's quite dewy, that grass there, looking into that colourful vegetation. I mean, it's a lovely shot. You can't beat a hedgehog photo, can you really?
No, it's good. Composition's great as well, isn't it? With the blue on the left-hand side, and then it's green with the hedgehogs perfectly placed, like that sort of dark background. Yeah, it works. Really strong.
Yeah, really strong photo as well. This is another photo that got highly commended in the garden category. It was taken by Josh Fangura, which is a nursery web spider. So if you are... I quite like the composition there with its legs coming forward. It looks like it's kind of coming towards you a little bit.
Yeah, the blue arcs around, which is good because you need that blue in the top right because you've got blue in the foreground and the bottom left. So you're lucky with the blue there. Very much a portrait of the spider. And I do quite like these in the sense that it gives us a chance to sort of get to know these arachnids a bit better because you can't see that with your naked eye. That's photography giving you a chance to examine a species that you otherwise can't because of the magnification.
Yeah, all those beautiful eyes, all that detail there.
Hold on, just put my glasses on.
Go on, have a look.
Look at the size of its pedipalps, those big swollen pedipalps. So the hairy organs in the middle are its fangs. The chelicerae, the sharp bits, are folded underneath. And then those two bulbous pieces on either side are the pedipalps.
On either side of the head, coming down,
Male of them. It's a male, I think. That's a male spider.
It's a gorgeous one. So on to the next category, onto our black and white category. Again, another really strong one. So the winner for this was this photograph of a spider's web. This was taken by Michael Howard. I mean, it's just exquisitely beautiful. It's just so simple, yet so well executed, isn't it? The details of the web, the spider webs for me are one of nature's most incredible pieces of architecture. It's fantastic the way they create these webs, and when you get up first thing in the morning and you've got all the dew or the droplets on a web, it's absolutely stunning just to look at and how the light reflects that, all those individual droplets. Beautiful.
It is simple, strong and simple.
Yeah.
Graphic.
Strong, simple, graphic, exactly. So the runner-up for this category was of this pigeon weathering the storm, and it was taken by Mark Simpson. I think it's the effect of the rain here that we really liked. It was the movement. You could see how that rain was falling down, and this pigeon was hunkered down really tight, trying to keep itself warm and dry.
In the most miserable-looking pigeon awards of 2020, that's a clear winner.
Well, it's an unhappy-looking pigeon. I mean, I'd be unhappy if I was out in the cold and the rain like that.
But critically, you can see the rain. That's the key thing, and it's quite difficult to photograph rain.
Yeah, that's the element that we really liked about it. We thought that really brought it alive. You could feel the kind of the frustration of that pigeon. You could imagine what it would be like to be sat on that fence in that pouring cold rain. Not very nice, but there we are. It gives you an emotion, and that's really important about photography.
Yeah, and the bird, you can see the mood of the bird.
Yes.
Excellent.
So our next category, is our home category. This meant that you had to take photographs within the walls of your house. You weren't allowed outside to take photos. And I have to say that we got some good entries here as well. People got very creative with what they could take in their bathrooms, in their kitchens, on their toilets, on their kettles, and everywhere else you could possibly imagine. But here is the photograph that won this category. It is called Basement Predators by Luca Eberl. I mean, it's an amazing shot, isn't it?
Yeah, Tej. Nice lighting. So all the lighting's on the Tej there. And then
Tegenaria.
Sorry, yeah, house spider. And then you can see the pictures. I can't see what that is though. Is that what's that a picture of in the background?
Well, I think it's quite blurry.
Oh yeah, it is a bit blurry. I don't think it's a Monet. No, it hasn't got that sort of Picasso look
I think you're missing the point.
I
Chris.
know. The point is that the attention is focused very much on the spider and not the picture in the background. Yeah, so I like the lighting.
The lighting's great, but it's really about what this competition was all about, which is about photographing things in your home, and immediately about this individual because we've all got them in our homes. Yep. I know I do. I had one crawling over my pillow a few nights ago.
Nice.
Woke me up. It was
nice.
Yeah, I really like them. They're full of character. Yeah. But it goes,
it wasn't a mouse.
Yes. Well, there have been that as well, but there we go. So that's a brilliant photograph. The next photo is again of another spider, house spider. This was taken by Josh Frangura. Again, this came runner-up in the home category. This is Josh. He's done some amazing arachnid photography here. Has some nice portraits.
Yes.
This, I believe, is taken in his bathroom.
Yeah, I prefer the other one. If I'm honest with you, I quite like the tangle of legs here. So you can see it looks, obviously, alien is one way of looking at it. It's very much different than us. So I love the tangle of legs. But I think I prefer the other one for the colour and the composition.
Yeah, this one looks more static. The other one looks like it's kind of crawling forward, but it's still a beautiful portrait of a remarkable animal that we don't really give enough credit to.
Yep. Okay.
And our last photography category is our under 12s, and there was again some fantastic images. Young people, I think, really get into photography. They don't limit themselves to the rules and regulations that adults do. They photograph whatever they want, and they'll take so many different photos, and it's fantastic. Like young photography, just not confined by the rules that we put ourselves into. So this was the winner. This was a mouse shot. This was from William Lambourne.
Oh, I can't look at this. That's made my tooth hurt.
What? Because your mice thing. Yeah, Chris is not a big fan of mice at the moment, but it is a good. You love peeping animals.
I love peeping. It's not the photograph; it's merely the subject.
It's honestly, a gorgeous photo.
Is that? I mean, honestly,
I really like it. It's just kind of peeping up there. Look, it's very sweet, just over that.
Focus is good. Yeah. Focus is good. Yes, it is peeping.
Very sweet.
Sneaking.
We love a peeping animal. Yeah, so this, sneaking. Very well done to you, William, for
read its mind, can't you? Read the mind of the mouse there. Oh, what can I chew up? What can I get into the house and chew? Can I get behind a dashboard and chew up all the wiring of Chris's car?
Well, yes, you could. The answer to that question.
Nice portrait. Very nice portrait.
Really nice portrait. And the runner-up for this category was of a periwinkle. It's named it Periwinkle Cupcake, which I think is a really fitting, actually, description for this photo. This was taken by Amelia Bradbury. I really like it. The simplicity of it. It does look like a cupcake, doesn't it? With the fondant where you squeeze it out and the piping work. Yeah. It does look exactly like that. All those ice gems. Those ice gems. I used to get those as a kid. They were these dry biscuits with that awful kind of icing thing on top, and it made your mouth hurt.
I didn't buy those for you.
I think you did.
No, I did not.
I always had ice gems, but that's what it reminds me of. But it's that beautiful symmetry of the flower, the kind of the cooling colour that I really like as well. So some beautiful images that came in there, and of course the overall winner of the competition. So we had of course the overall winner, the champion of the Isolation Wildlife Photography Awards, and the winner was of the Basement Predator, and that was of course the photo taken by Luca Eberl. So that's this is the starling one coming up. It was the Basement Predators by Luca Eberl, which was that Tegenaria that was on that banister, I believe, that won the over. There it is. There we go. We've got there. A beautiful photo. So well done to everyone for winning and getting your prizes there. It's a fantastic competition. Your creativity was amazing. And big thank you both to Matt and Jack for putting it together and doing such a fantastic job. And of course, there is going to be a book that's going to come from this.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're currently busy working on a book that's going to be created with all of the images that were well, most of the images that were sent in to us, and it's going to be a fantastic thing. Some more details about that to follow. We'll keep you updated as and when we know more.
But before we move on from the competition, don't forget the film.
Yes, no.
Short film. Miguel Anton made a short film which was judged the winner. It's really good, actually.
It's brilliant.
Really clever, great editing, great sound. So have a look at this. It is pretty short, sort of a little cameo of his endeavours, but the way that it's crafted is really, really good. Miguel Anton's film.
Good evening. You must stay at home. Because the critical thing
Excellent stuff.
Incredible film.
Yeah, really, really good.
You know, I really laughed at the lens cap thing because the amount of times, you know, I'm sure every person who has a camera has
Never
done
it
that.
myself.
Oh, rubbish. I've seen you do it
Never
all the time. And you're like,
never.
what's going
Never. Always prepared.
Always do. But the thing I liked about that is you felt like you were in a jungle by the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, I could almost, like, the music, everything, it worked so well together. It was really well edited. And I just imagined myself to be really small and all these giant insects. It made me feel like I was just in some kind of...
But the editing was excellent,
you know,
as well. And the sound appreciating humour, you know, dropping
was
the
brilliant.
little thing, lens cap. It's top film work.
It's brilliant.
Sound was good as well.
Sound was really good. Yeah, so no, brilliant work
Very
to Miguel.
talented.
Yeah.
Very talented man.
Very talented. So well done to everybody who put their entries in for Isolation Wildlife Photography Awards or Video Awards. It was really, really incredible. So we hope you enjoyed the showcase of those photos.
Excellent stuff.
Film.
Okay, we've got to wrap up our quiz.
Yes.
Here's the sound that we played you earlier. Let's have another listen to that. Said to sound like a squealing pig.
Yeah.
I've read that description. Squealing pig.
It is.
So it's a nocturnal squealing pig, and you need to go to a reed bed to hear it.
It's also a species which we've featured on today's programme.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, there's a theme running. If you've caught up, the last few programmes, we are featuring things that we talk about. So
In the quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that right. Not many, though. It was a tricky one. So on Facebook, we've got Linda, Judy and Helen. On Twitter, we've got JCMM, and YouTube, Paula and Simon. So well done to you guys for getting it right.
Yeah.
The answer is...
The water rail.
The water rail,
Yeah.
of course.
At night, the males argue about their territories in the reed beds. And if you go out at night, I went once to Warbur's Wick and I walked out towards the windmill at night. And it was nice and still, and you could hear all the water rails, screeching at one another. The most I ever heard was in a marsh in France, when we parked in a car park at night, put down the windows, and it was just water rail-tastic. Honestly, it was just like they were screeching and screeching and screeching. It was quite special, I have to say.
Yeah?
Yeah, and it's not actually, when you look at the bird, it's not sort of sound that you would expect it to make, I suppose, really.
No, it's not actually. It's you're quite surprised that it's coming out of the bill.
Yeah.
That it's coming out of.
I do love the water rail.
Yeah, it's
excellent
a great bird.
birds.
They are
Excellent
really
birds.
cool.
Maybe I should have got the feet out if I'd have known. If I'd have had more time, I'd have got the feet out. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
that is because that's what this broadcast is. Dried
birthdays?
feet. Yes, there are birthdays. So Amanda Bradbury, very happy birthday to you. Bob Priest, it's your birthday tomorrow. We wish you a very good day for tomorrow. Hope the sun is out and you're able to enjoy your weekend. And there is a bit of a, apparently, David Hasselhoff.
What?
It's David Hasselhoff's birthday.
David Hasselhoff,
Yes.
he was in
Is it Baywatch he was in?
Baywatch.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he was the sort of hunky bloke in Baywatch.
Hunky Baywatch.
And then he went to, I think he went to Germany and was in a heavy metal band or something.
Was he?
I think so. I don't know. I might have got that wrong. Didn't follow his career that intently. Wasn't that big a fan of Baywatch, to be honest with
There
you.
we go, David Hasselhoff. But it's also Wanda's mum's birthday tomorrow. You're 85 tomorrow. I'm not sure what your name is, but happy birthday to you. We hope you have a fantastic 85th birthday. Anyone whose birthday is this upcoming week, have a great time.
Yeah, now today, as we've mentioned at the very top of the programme, is the launch of the big butterfly count, Butterfly Conservation, an excellent UK-based charity down in Dorset, actually. And for some time, they've been monitoring.
Butterfly just flew past. That was nice. Timed it perfect. We arranged that. We got that in the diary earlier.
So today, thanks to the sponsors, B&Q and DFN Foundation, we are able to launch the 2020 Big Butterfly Count. We ask you to download the app on your phone or to go to bigbutterflycount.org and download the sheet, and then go to a spot where you spend 15 minutes. It can be in your garden, it can be in the countryside, but you stand there for 15 minutes and you note the number of butterfly species and how many of them you see, not randomly, but of those which are on the app. And there were a couple of day flying moths involved that as well. Now you may think, well, how's that going to tell us much about butterfly populations if we're only looking at those ones, we're only looking at them for 15 minutes? Well, it's been taking place for a number of years. 113,000 people did it last year, which means we're generating good data, and we've got a good data time set, which is telling us about these butterflies populations, and they are indicators of the general health of our butterflies in the UK, which I have to say is generally not very good.
No, declined by 76% the abundance of UK butterflies. So we need to make sure that we're out there analysing what's going on, noting what species we've got in our gardens and perhaps or a park or wherever you can get to collect that really valuable data and give it to the Butterfly Conservation so that they can continue their fantastic scientific work. But it's also a great thing for you guys to get out and do, well, a great thing for us to go and do. It's, connecting with nature helps us, and it's a great education tool if you've got children to go out and take them out and see what they can find. I've spent hours when we do moth trapping and butterfly trapping with, identification sheets, trying to work out what's what, and it's a great learning thing to be able to do as well. So great
there
for
are
the
only
butterflies,
59
great
species in the UK, as Luke said in his film. There are only 59 species here, so it's not too challenging learning to identify all of them. The tricky ones are the skippers.
Some of them. You don't have to learn all of them.
No, you don't. Not for this. I'm just talking more generally. If you get into butterflies, having done the big butterfly count, and there are some spectacular species, and of course they occur all over the UK. Really, really good stuff. So yes, to go bigbutterflycount.org or download the app on your phone. It runs until August the 8th, so we've got plenty of time to do that. And
so go to
do it more than once, but you've got to do 15 minutes and then another 15 minutes, not a half hour. You've got to keep the data manageable.
Keep it the same all the way through. Very important. So you can go bigbutterflycount.org and sign up there. Very exciting.
Indeed.
Stuff.
Okay.
So coming up next week, what are we going to be talking about? Well, the theme of next week is going to be meadows and wildflowers. So we're going to be talking a little bit about verges, perhaps, a little bit about the biodiversity going on there, how we can incorporate wildflowers a little bit better. So it's going to be coming up. And of course, we are going to be, have a fantastic film from Indy Green, who is the young man who took those vulture photographs. He's a brilliant conservationist, so it's definitely not one that you want to miss next week at 9 a.m. Friday morning.
Excellent.
So, I think we better get you off to a dentist.
4:30 this afternoon, I'll be there.
Yeah, we're going to
Actually, I'll be there at 4:20. I might go.
Well, I'll drive you there now. I'll drive you there now.
I'm quite keen to get there, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. I think so.
Very good dentist I have. Very good dentist. I'm sure. I've all faith in pain being gone by this evening. I may even open a bottle of wine to celebrate the healing.
I'm not sure that's quite right.
No, well, maybe not.
Oh, that's not going to help.
Tell me no. Okay.
I'll give you a drop of wine. A drop of wine.
A straw down to the back of the throat. Yeah. Intravenous Chardonnay. It's probably
intravenous Chardonnay.
That's not going to happen.
I'm not sure that Dr Amir would say that was the best idea.
No.
But there we go.
Don't mention that to Amir.
Don't tell him.
Top bloke
Don't tell it. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
Anyway, we're rambling.
We're rambling now. It's time to go.
Yeah.
So.
Have a great weekend, everyone. It's been a fantastic thing to come on today and talk to you all about, everything we've gone through, the photos, and all of your engagement's been fantastic. Keep sending us in your photographs and your videos, and your wildlife gardens. Maybe you could show us what you're up to create better habitat for butterflies in your gardens. So we'd love to see that. Okay. And we will see you next week.
No mice.
No mice.
No mice.
Well, a few mice. I like mice. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.